But they don't say Jesus is Son of God. They don't say God has partners. But that sajda, you need to ask Mufti Sahab if that is permissible or not. Secondly, I have seen this, particularly in marriage. Beti ki shadi nahi hoti. So they go to Pir Sahab and say, get my daughter married, as in do something. There's no harm in requesting dua. Another common one is fertility issues. हमारे यहाँ बच्चे नहीं होते. पीर साहब के पास जाते हैं, मौलाना साहब, इमाम साहब के पास, दरबार में जाते हैं, दरगाह में जाते हैं. And then this is one step forward. We go to a grave of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah alayh. Everybody say Rahmatullah alayh. So you know we do not respect Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani. He was a very pious person. Sheikh Muhyiddin Chishti Rahmatullah alayh. Very big sheikh. The people themselves were not a problem. So we've made it a problem by doing sajda at those graves. Whether it's Ajmer Sharif or somewhere else. And we know India, Pakistan, Bangladesh is full of these places. How can you go to a grave and say, Maulana Sahab, Pir Sahab, give my daughter babies. Maulana Sahab, Pir Sahab, my son can't get married, get him married. Isse bada koi shirk hai. I remember one alim in Urdu, he said, Darbar mein jana aur dua mangna to the grave to bari baat hai. वहाँ इस ख्याल से जाना कि हमारी छोटी उम्मीद पूरी होगी, ये सबसे बड़ा शिर्क है. In English, basically, some ulama say that to go to a darbar or any sort of place where there's a grave and it's made into like a tomb and people do sajda and put flowers and agarbatti and these things, to raise your hands is a very big thing. To do sajda is a very big thing. The ulama say just to have this hope that my daughter will get pregnant, my son will get married, my husband will get a job, that thought itself is shirk. Now some of the youngsters will think, well, this doesn't happen in this country. You may be wrong. You may be wrong, it does happen. We don't have it as common, but those trends from India, Pakistan, we have brought to this country. And that's why I say, if we're not going to cross this bridge and get that Aqidah state, then I'm going to close my book, switch off the cameras and everybody go home. Because there's no point me doing the bayan and the rest of the thing, because your foundation isn't correct. If anybody sitting here or listening has that thought and belief, that needs to be eradicated. Because when it comes to Aqidah and Tawheed, there's a fine line. You're either in or you're out. There's no a bit of this is okay. A bit of shirk is okay, bro. A bit of shirk. A bit of sajda. I only did sajda once. And how about you only go to Jahannam once? Anybody ready for it? Can you see when it comes to Aqidah and Tawheed, there's no messing about? And that's why I say this topic in the next few minutes is more important, because it could lead a person to be deprived of Jannah. When the Prophet ﷺ started his da'wah in Makkah, what was he promoting? What was the main thing the Prophet ﷺ was saying in those days? Anybody know? The oneness of Allah. Salah, fasting, hijab came later. And there was obviously a lot of talk about Jannah and Jahannam, because I don't want to give an example like a businessman, but the Quraysh were thinking, what you're offering us, what you're selling, what do we get? We give up these 360 idols inside the Kaaba, what do we get? The Prophet said, Jannatin tajri min tahta al-anhar khalidin fiha abada. Yeah? You will get gardens under which rivers flow, and you will live in there forever. Not this transient life, 60, 70, 80 years. But what if we don't? Which most didn't. The likes of Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, made a mockery of the Prophet ﷺ. What if we don't? Then Jahannam khalidina fiha abada. That's why I say it's in or out. There's no middle path. You're either in Jannah or in Jahannam in the hereafter. Yeah, obviously some people will get punished and then move to Jannah, but that was the Prophet ﷺ's message, and that's important that we refresh that message. Not that we're getting older in our 40s and 50s and 60s and we think, "Main to Musalman paida hua, what does this guy think he is? Main to Musalman paida hua." Alhamdulillah that we are born Muslims. But along the way, make sure your aqidah doesn't change. And I'll give you a very basic example. I gave the example, the extreme ones of the peers and doing shirk and doing sajda. But a common everyday example, I say, is a person takes medicine. Yeah? So a person takes medicine, paracetamol, any sort of medicine, and let's say there's two people, person X and person Y. Person X has a migraine, took the paracetamol, he got better. Person Y also had a migraine, took the paracetamol and didn't get better. Who knows why? What's the difference? What?
One of them prayed to Allah and the other did.
Okay, very close answer, mashallah. Well done to the young boy. So one of them prayed to Allah and the other one didn't. All that needs to be, one of them trusted Allah, the tawakkul aspect. One of them trusted, so the praying is part of it. That he said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, we prayed another dua, and he knew that Allah is Shafi. He took the paracetamol as a means, but he knew this paracetamol cannot harm me, cannot benefit me until Allah wants. He took it, his migraine went away. The other one thought medicine cures, the NHS cures, the pharmacist cures, the GP cures. He took the medicine, Allah didn't cure him. Why did Allah not cure him? To teach him who is Shafi. Shafi is not the Pir Sahib in the grave. It's not Maulana Sahib, it's not Imam Sahib. To the point, to make you understand, when people come to us for Ruqya, we make sure that they don't ever think that we cure. We don't cure. So that's why I say these everyday conversations we have here. वो मौलाना साहब है ना, वो बर्मिंघम में, वो अच्छा खासा शिफा देता है. Wrong, you can't say that. वो हकीम साहब है ना, वो फौरन उनका इलाज हो जाता है. You can't say that. You cannot say that. Even though we say every day, Islamically you cannot say that, because you are saying that Pir Sahib, Hakim Sahib cures. You are saying Maulana Sahib cures. Totally incorrect. And that's why I say in our Asian people, being from the subcontinent, our belief is not 100% in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala how it should be. And I will compare to the Arabs. It's not about racism or comparing who's better than. Some things are just stark in our community and stark in their community. And this, a teacher of mine used to give this example, particularly when you go to Saudi Arabia for Hajj and Umrah. You will see the Arabs, let's be honest, yeah, you don't see many with beards as big as this. They have smaller beards. They have their trousers well below the ankles. They'll get a Quran, Mus'haf, throw it on the floor. And for us that's shirk. That's the biggest sin. Let's be honest, because the way we taught up, you put Quran on a table, on a bench, and that's good, it's adab. Yeah? Your trousers should be above your ankles, because hadith of Prophet, you should lengthen your beard like the Sahaba did. So these things are good. I'm not belittling it, but I'm comparing that in our Asian people, we focus a lot on beard and trousers and adab and Quran and don't face your feet towards the Qibla. All of this is good. So when we go Saudi Arabia and then the Arab is sat there with his Quran, Mus'haf, puts it on the floor, pays a bit, stretches his feet out towards the Kaaba, we're thinking this guy is the biggest gunagar in the world. But my teacher used to say, not necessarily. His actions, his outer appearance looks weak, doesn't it, Islamically? But listen to these guys. Speak to them. Look in Gaza and Palestine and Syria. They are the same Arabs. When they say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, the heavens shake and Allah answers their dua. When we say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, because our foundation is not built, even this masjid won't shake. Do you get my point? That the beard is good, but it's not the be-all and end-all. It's not the be-all and end-all. This does not guarantee you Jannah. Abu Jahl had a beard. Abu Lahab had a beard. It was the culture of the Arabs. Yeah, and many of them used to wear turbans as well. So if that's the key to Jannah, then many of them should go to Jannah. They won't. Appearance is good. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَى صُوَرِكُمْ وَلَا إِلَى أَجْسَامِكُمْ وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. Allah does not look at your suwar, your face and your bodies. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at your heart and your actions. Always remember that. Before you judge, if you want to become a judge, jury, executioner, feel free. Make sure you can answer for it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. So it's very, very important our roots are set. Just like any plant or tree which has strong roots, that tree will grow higher than your masjid. But when the seed is corrupt, like many of our beliefs are corrupt, that tree will not grow. And these are things that are very, very important. I'll quickly mention the 3 types of tawakkul, because I mentioned tawakkul is important, relying only on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are 3 types. The first level of tawakkul is 100% tawakkul, which is what the Anbiya alayhimus salam and the Sahaba kiram ridwanullahi ajma'in had, as in they would not seek help from anybody. So the example we give is when Sahaba were traveling on their camels and horses, if their whip fell, they would not say, brother, can you pass me that whip? Because that goes against tawakkul. Can you see the level they had? So these people would raise their hands, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and direct contact. Yeah? Very few people in this day and age are on that level. There may be somewhere around the world. Number 2 level is what we need to come on to. 50% tawakkul, reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the other 50% is using means. So you're ill, you go to the doctor, you get a prescription, take the medicine, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and you know that Allah cures. And if you didn't get cured, Allah didn't write it for you. You don't blame the medicine. It's not written for you. Back to somebody who can't get married. Yeah, you have to start actively looking. Somebody who can't have children, they have to make some sort of means, whether it's IVF, you go to a Hakim, take the medicine. If Allah blesses you with children, and it was written. And if after those using the means, Allah did not bless you with children, it's not written. The example I always give, because a lot of people do come for Ruqya for fertility issues, is an example of Aisha radiallahu anha. The only wife of the Prophet ﷺ which was never married, the youngest virgin. You'd think she'd have most children. How many children did the wife of the Prophet ﷺ have, Aisha radiallahu anha? How many children? 0. Goes against science, doesn't it? You know what else goes against science? Khadija radiallahu anha, 40 years old, married twice before. An old woman, I'm saying that in a respectful way, not in a bad way, an older woman compared to the other wives, compared to Aisha, she was a lot older. Yeah? But when the Prophet ﷺ married her, she was the only wife. How many children? 6. 7th one was from the slave girl, 6 from Khadija radiallahu anha. I.e., all the Prophet ﷺ's children from the wives came from Khadija. He didn't have any other children when it was. The other was a slave girl. So that means she had children in her 40s. Goes against biology and science. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to bless them with children. There was a reason why Khadija was the Prophet ﷺ's wife. She was older, wiser, experienced. That's what he needed. In Ghar Hira, when the revelation came down, that's what he needed. But we don't want to go into that. The third, so basically 50% tawakkul, 50% using the means. That's why I mentioned things like IVF, which people hesitate to use, or anything, even for an illness. Someone's got cancer, chemotherapy, radiotherapy. These things are haram. Yeah, some people, they don't have that 100% tawakkul, but they're just in their head. You can't go doctor. You can't go for Ruqya. You can't use dawees. There's no evidence. It's just Hazratji's opinion. The third type is the wrong tawakkul. 100% on the means. You only go doctors. You never make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You only use the means. So for example, a rizq, working, yeah, we all need to work to get money. We should also believe that Allah is the Razzaq, the sustainer. He provides. He can give you barakah. I know people who work on very less wages, but subhanAllah, the amount of stuff they get done in that less money, barakah, which we don't believe in sadly in this day and age. Many people don't believe in barakah. In this country, the Western world, materialism, everybody thinks you have to earn 2,000, 3,000 a month, otherwise you're going to die. Cut down your expenses and inshallah you won't die. So the first topic is evil eye. I always put evil eye first before sihr and jinn issues, simply because ayn nazar is thought of very lightly. In our community, people think nazar jo hai chote bacche ko hota hai. Nazar jo hai chote bacche ko hota hai, small thing, you know, you get a bit of eczema, a bit of rash. That's not what Quran and Hadith say. So first thing we have to establish is, does nazar actually exist? It's like I said, in this country alone, Where I live in Blackburn, a lot of people are against this sort of stuff. It doesn't happen. It only happens in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. So we need to look at Quran and Hadith, what they say. And that will always be our foundation for any sort of Islamic debate, evidence. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Yusuf, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, وقال يا بني لا تدخلوا من باب واحد وادخلوا من أبواب متفرقة. In the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam, so the verse mentions Yaqub alayhi salam said, "O my beloved children, لا تدخلوا من باب واحد." Don't enter from one door, or bab is literally door or entrance you could say, when they were going to Egypt. وَادْخُلُوا مِنْ أَبْوَابٍ مُتَفَرِّقَةٍ. Enter from different doors. So this is when the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam had thrown him into a well. Now there's poverty where they're living, so they're in search for food. Now, how does this prove evil eye exists? Unanimously the commentators on this verse say Yusuf alayhi salam we know was very beautiful, very handsome. Yeah? What's not mentioned often is his brothers were also very beautiful, very handsome. People just think it's just Yusuf alayhi salam. So Yaqub alayhi salam, the father, a prophet, was very wise, said, don't go as a group. There was 11 brothers, because if people see these 11 handsome men, they're going to poke evil eye, cast evil glances. So 2, 3 go from this entrance, don't hang about together, basically. So the ulama say from here it proves ayn, evil eye exists. The next verse, وَإِنْ يَكَادُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ وَيَقُولُونَ إِنَّهُ لَمَجْنُونَ وَمَا هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. So this verse says that it's very close that the non-Muslims, the non-believers, will لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ means literally make you slip, لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ, or metaphorically cast evil glances لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ, when they hear the Quran. Dhikr here means Quran. وَيَقُولُونَ إِنَّهُ لَمَجْنُونَ, and they will say that نَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a madman, majnoon. So from this verse, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, Imam Mujahid rahmatullah alayhi, and many others, they say that لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ, that they will make you slip or cast evil glances, is proof of ayn and nazar. That's 2 Quran ayats. In the hadith, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, العين حق ونهى عن الوشم. The evil eye is real. العين حق is clear words. Yeah? And further, another topic about tattoos, the Prophet ﷺ forbade from tattoos. This hadith is mentioned in Tafsir Ibn Kathir. Another hadith, Aisha radiallahu anha, from the Prophet ﷺ, استعيذوا بالله من العين فإن العين حق. So the Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba, seek Allah's refuge from evil eye. So if it was such a short, small thing, the Prophet ﷺ is telling the Sahaba, seek Allah's refuge from evil eye. فإن العين حق. Evil eye is real, narrated in Bukhari. I'm going to stop here for a second. So when the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned this hadith, who was he talking to? Who was the Prophet ﷺ talking to? Who were the men or women around the Messenger? The Sahaba. Yeah, the Sahaba Kiram Ridwan Ajma'in. The Prophet ﷺ was not telling me and you directly. Obviously it's a hadith for us as well, but when he said it, it was directly for the Sahaba. What do we know about the Sahaba's Iman?
Very strong.
Very strong, mashallah. Very good, very strong. I would even say 100%, I'd say 110%, 120%. These people were Sawam, Qawwam, Akmalun Nasi Imanan. Regular in fasting, regular in tahajjud and the night prayer. Akmalun Nasi Imanan, they had completed their Iman. Koi kami nahi thi. There was no deficiency. Despite that, the Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Umar radiallahu anhu, Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, Uthman Ghani radiallahu anhu, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu, the giants of the Sahaba, oh Abu Bakr, save yourself from evil eye, ask Allah's refuge. Why do I stop here and mention this point? For those people who say, Maulana Sahab, हम तो 5 वक्त की नमाज पढ़ते हैं, कुछ नहीं होगा. माशाअल्लाह, so they are greater than Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu. मौलाना साहब, हम तो सूरह यासीन पढ़ते हैं, बेशक सूरह यासीन पढ़ो सुबह को और 5 वक्त की नमाज पढ़ो. But if you are saying to me that you pray 5 times salah, you've got a beard and wear a hijab, or you pray manzil, that's it. Nothing can touch us. Your iman must be greater than Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Umar radiallahu anhu, Aisha radiallahu anha. Because they did more than us. They lived with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they never, there's no hadith that says this, that nothing can harm us. So who is today's ignorant Muslim to say, हम 5 वक्त की नमाज पढ़ते कुछ नहीं होगा? It contradicts the hadith I said at the beginning, that the higher your faith, the more severity of the test. Do you see how much ignorance there is in community? Because I hear this a lot. Not just jinn jadoo. We heard it at the lockdown time, coronavirus. Mask mat pehno, kuch nahi hoga. Yeah? Mask mat pehno. Because following the laws of the country is haram, isn't it? According to Sheikh TikTok. According to these big sheikhs, if you follow the law of the land, it's haram. You shouldn't follow it. It's kuffar ka mulk hai. What are you still doing here then? What are you still doing here if it's kuffar ka mulk and it's haram and you can't wear a mask? We heard it a lot. A lot of people's true iman and ignorance levels came out when the coronavirus was spreading. And the mask was a big one. You don't need to wear a mask, just pray namaz. Where do you start teaching them? Do you teach them Islam first, or do you teach them science first? So just remember this, that when you feel a bit too pious, self-righteous, remember this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba, seek Allah's refuge from evil eye. Further, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu from the Prophet ﷺ, الْعَيْنُ حَقٌّ وَلَوْ كَانَ شَيْءٌ سَابَقَ الْقَدْرِ سَبَقَهُ الْعَيْنُ وَإِذَا اسْتُخْسِلْتُمْ فَغَسِلُوا. This hadith needs a bit of explanation. The Prophet ﷺ, from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he said, الْعَيْنُ حَقٌّ, evil eye is real. And if وَلَوْ كَانَ, if there was something that would overcome taqdeer, qadr, Allah's predestination, then it would be ayn. If there was something. So we know taqdeer, something written 50,000 years before the creation of the heaven and the earth, everything was written. Who will get married, how many babies you will have, how many children, when you'll die, how much risk you'll earn. For us being here today's program, that was written. Everything was written. The Prophet ﷺ is saying these things won't change, but if there were to be something, evil eye. It's explained in the next hadith. Better. إِنَّ الْعَيْنَ لَتُولِعُ الرَّجُلِ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ حَتَّى يَسْعَدَ حَالِكًا يَتَرَدَّى مِنْهُ. The Prophet ﷺ said that evil eye can affect a person, that if he's on a mountain, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it can drop him from that mountain. What it's trying to say is evil eye is that deadly that it could cause death. So how we explain it is taqdeer is there, your death is written 60, 65, 80. But evil eye is very harmful, very dangerous. It can cause major illnesses. I wouldn't deny anyway that it could cause cancer. Yeah? It could cause a person who's very young, in their 30s, let's say, with a mini stroke or a heart attack. Evil eye could do that. Especially when you have extreme cases of nazar and evil eye, which we will explain shortly. So back to the people who say, nazar chote bacche ko hota hai. Generally, babies do get nazar, especially a first child. Babies who are cute, mashallah, will get nazar, coloured eyes, coloured hair, etc. But it doesn't end there. Doesn't mean adults can't get nazar. Now the word nazar in Urdu or ayn in Arabic as well is usually related to the eye. Ayn means eye, yeah? Evil eye. And nazar also means to look. So people think sirf dekhne se hota hai, by looking. Incorrect. Somebody, mashallah, today you've had 2 boys, one read qiraat and a nasheed. And we will say mashallah, we won't put nazar on them. But somebody could have listened to their qiraat and the nasheed and thought, wow, he's got a nice voice. I wish my son was like that. And the bichara kid gets sore throat tomorrow. That's your nazar. No effort needed, you don't need to go to somebody. It's very easy. So it's done by listening. It can be done by smelling. For the sisters, somebody comes to your house, your wife's baking milk cakes, cupcakes, and somebody smells and says, wow, that smells really good. No mashallah, no barakallah. Next minute the cake's burnt in the oven. That's the person's nazar. So tasting as well. Somebody has food, comes to your house, has biryani, and says, that's really nice food you're wife makes. No mashallah, no barakallah. And then next minute the pot of biryani is burnt or is damaged. It's as simple as that. That's why we put nazar, evil eye first. It's more common. When people come to me for treatment, they often say, oh, is it black magic, is it black magic, have I got jinn, have I got jinn? Because people like these fascinating things and stories, and the truth is, evil eye is more common. Nazar both aam because there's no effort. Another thing I'll tell you, a lot more people could put nazar on it. Black magic maybe 2 or 3 max. That's enough to do damage. Evil eye, 10 people could put it, 50 people could put it, your neighbours, your relatives, your work colleagues. So give an example of a new car, new house. You've got a new house in one of the posh areas in Manchester, Cheadle, is it Cheadle, the posh, the rich area. So then you invite people over, just say 50 friends, family, relatives, work colleagues, yeah? Everybody's looking, wow, nice carpet, nice sofas, where did you get the bed from? IKEA, yeah, mashallah, I've been there as well. And then people send the photos like they do. And then your photos are all over social media. Do you understand when I say so many people can put nazar just on that one house? Next minute the new couple have moved in, they're having arguments, and they end up in divorce. Can nazar, evil eye lead to divorce? Yes, it can. So that doesn't mean I'm saying don't invite anybody to your house and stay locked up in a cupboard. No, you just got to be careful. Another objection people have, people say, oh Maulana Sahab, you know, you don't say everything's nazar, jinn, jadoo nowadays. First of all is we don't say that, because I've already mentioned the 2 extremes at the start. What we do say though, it is more prevalent. Why? Because of video, photography, cameras. 20 years ago, yeah, like when a lot of people sitting here who grew up in the 80s and 90s, if I wanted your photo, it'd be very hard to get your photo. School album, family wedding album, which is kept at home. Now I want your photo, I just put your name in Google, Facebook, Snapchat, everybody's on there. And then we're sat here in this cold weather, and some brothers in Dubai, 45 degrees, someone's in Turkey, Morocco having a holiday. I think, oh, I wish I was there. So this flight gets cancelled. That's my nazar. And photography has increased evil eye nazar, particularly more with sisters. I'll be honest. Men do put things up as well, the cake, the burger, work out at the gym. The sisters more, we like to put everything up. Picture of our kids, husband. You don't need to show your happiness. You don't need validation from somebody. If I'm happy today, alhamdulillah, I'm happy. I don't need anybody to tell me I'm happy. Oh brother, you're happy. How do you know I'm happy? I saw your photo. Oh well, you know it's Photoshop. I wasn't really happy. I just had an argument with my wife. Happens, doesn't it? I know of cases like that. They put photos up, they're on holiday, they look really nice, so we're here thinking they're loving life, but really, they've come back on separate flights. So, the Instagram world, the Snapchat world is very fake, artificial. Hence people are becoming very fake and artificial. Social media has done that damage. Now one question people ask, so a lot of, when I prepared this talk a few years ago, a lot of the things I mentioned is objections over the years. What people ask, what people text me sometimes, so if any of you have these thoughts as well, it just gets answered. In case you're thinking, why am I already doing the Q&A? People ask that, can evil eye come from your family? As in your own brothers, sisters, siblings, your own mum and dad? Possible? And can evil eye kill you? Which has already been covered in the hadith. The example I give is an answer given by Sheikh Khalid Hibshi. Sheikh Khalid Hibshi is a Iraqi from Saudi Arabia, somebody who I studied under many courses he's done in Manchester a few years ago. If he does ever come, I would recommend visiting the Sheikh. He has a lot of knowledge. He's one of the biggest Iraqis in Saudi Arabia. If you put Sheikh Khalid Hibshi in YouTube, it's most of his ruqyas, very powerful ruqyas on YouTube. So he answered these questions and he said, for both, the answer to both is Yusuf alayhi salam. When Yusuf alayhi salam was thrown into the well, it was to finish him off. And they realized their father loves Yusuf more than the 11 brothers. They sat for mashwara, and everyone gave opinions. The first mashwara was, Uqtulu Yusuf, kill him, finish him. Hasad and jealousy can lead to killing. It happened in the family of prophets. Obviously he didn't die because Allah wanted to make him a prophet. But my point was, it led to it, didn't it? It led to throwing in the well, number one. Number two, who put him in the well? Who threw Yusuf alayhi salam in the well? His brothers, family. So when people come to me and say, Maulana Sahab, hamara to koi dushman nahi, mera dil bahut saaf hai. Yeah? And I laugh as well when they say that. It's naivety. Aapka dil saaf hai to mera dil mela hai. Hum kaun se kale dil wale? Yeah, I wish I was like that as well, I had no enemies. Everybody has enemies. The greater the person, the more enemies. Prophet ﷺ had enemies, so who do you think you ought to have no enemies? And a lot of people say this, by the way, it's very naive. Maulana Sahab, आपने कहा हमारे फैमिली पर जादू है, हमारा कोई दुश्मन नहीं, हम हलाल खाते हैं, हलाल कमाते हैं, सबके साथ अच्छा मामला करते हैं. Back to what I said at the start, now you'll understand why I said the hadith. अच्छे लोगों ही को मुसीबत आती है ना. Allah only tests the अच्छे लोगों. Because if you were the evildoers, you'd be doing the black magic and the evil act. So never think that you don't have enemies and everybody likes you. Yusuf alayhi salam's brothers were also family. Sometimes people get confused between the word hasad and nazar or ayn. What's hasad and what's ayn? Which one's worse? Look at the Quran. Surah Falaq, what's the last verse of Surah Falaq? وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us to seek refuge from the envier when he envies. It doesn't say وَمِن شَرِّ عَائِلٍ إِذَا عَيْنٍ. Yeah? So hasad is actually worse. And hasad's the one that will lead to illnesses, medical issues not being explained, which we'll touch upon. But I mentioned briefly that what nazar and ayn and hasad can do is often people have medical issues. So this is the correlation between mental health, medical and black magic and nazar. You don't need to deny one to believe in another. It's just a simple rule. If I've got a cough and you've got a cold, no, cold doesn't exist, I've got a cough. And then you say to me, well, your cough doesn't exist because I've got a cold. I've had times where I've had a cough and a cold. It can happen. Why do you need to deny one to believe in the other? And this is a message to mainly the young people, what I call the millennial Muslims, who deny black magic and nazar. It doesn't happen. My grandma used to say, but you know what, it's all about us. Why? Because we believe in mental health. I believe in mental health. I believe in mental health. I also believe in jinn because there's a surah jinn in the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ had black magic. Many of the Sahaba had nazar and ayn. So why do you have to believe in one and not believe in the other? And it's the same extremists on the other side who believe in jinn jadoo. Ye mental health, ye goro ki ijad hai. They've made it up to make money. Either they've made it up to make money or not, but it exists. So it's very important to understand that certain medical issues which first cannot be diagnosed by the doctors. CT scan, MRI scan, X-ray, प्राइवेट में जाते हैं, हिंदुस्तान में यशफील में जाते हैं, पाकिस्तान के हॉस्पिटल में जाते हैं, कुछ नहीं नजर आता. But the lady herself is dying inside. The man, he can't get out of bed. Why can't doctors help him? This is a problem in this country which I don't expect everybody to agree because it took me years to understand. It's the way we're indoctrinated in this country. The way we're brought up, the British born, we are brought up medical is everything. NHS is everything. Doctor ne kaha mar jayenge to fir mari jayenge. As though doctor's God. Sometimes there are people who've been told they've only got 2 days left and they still lived. Doctors are not God. We respect doctors, we respect the NHS. You can criticize them and still use them. Doesn't mean we can't criticize them. But my point is not about the NHS, it's about Muslims who say only medical. And I'll be honest, I don't bother debating with these people. Shall I tell you why? Because I'm not going to suffer. I'm not going to suffer. If you've got an illness which doctors can't diagnose, I'm telling you, brother, you know what? Maybe get Ruqya then, maybe go for cupping, maybe use olive oil. Well, you know how many? It's 21st century. Forget those backward methods. Keep suffering. I'm not suffering. You understand? And a lot of these millennial kids, because I've sat on mental health courses, I've sat on counselling courses, and when the topic of black magic comes up, there's only laughs and jokes and lols. And it is often, my dada used to say, my grandma used to say, grandma's dead, so black magic is dead. There is a term, and you can Google it now if you want, MUS. And I always say this, because it's quite ironic where I learned this term. It was actually in a talk of mine. I was doing the same talk, which I'm delivering to you in Sheffield, about 2.5 years ago. And there was a doctor, a GP, who sat at the front. And I got a bit worried, he kept on taking notes. He put his phone away, and he was recording stuff, he put his phone away. I thought, yeah, koi CID MI5 here. So he met me afterwards, and he goes, Maulana Sahab, aapki baat sahi hai. And then I'm thinking, yes, sahi hai, because Quran says sahi. I don't need you to tell me that. So he goes, no, kuch medical ki cheez hai na, maybe doctor ho. He was a GP, that's why he was taking those notes. And then he goes, we have a term which is called MUS, medically unexplained symptoms. What is medically unexplained symptom? Exactly what it says on the tin. When doctors cannot find what's wrong with you, but you are not well. And I was really proud of him, mashallah. I made dua for him, because prior to that, I'll be honest, I used to think sometimes doctors and GPs were a bit arrogant. Anybody medical sitting here? That's good. So, I'll be honest, it's because of this, at least he had the dignity to come and tell me that, you know, we have this term now though. Now they have this term. What about 20, 30 years ago, all the ones you killed because you said if we can't cure it, nobody can cure it. That's the attitude they had. And he was one, there's many others I know who work in mental health who also say that we also send people for Ruqya and drink Zamzam and listen to Surah Rahman and Surah Baqarah. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not that educated, but simple person, used to say, but you're not allowed to say that. Because you've got this narrow-minded tunnel vision that you can only stick to what the NHS says. And they say, yeah, but you know what, the NHS is in debt, so we've got to save money. And I didn't like that answer. Whether it's truth or not, that's what I was told. That because if people go for Ruqya and drink Zamzam and do other spiritual ilaj, it helps them, it saves our prescription, doesn't it? So then I'm thinking, what about before then? Did you not save it? Because you're in debt, you're saying it now. Can you see, it's not really a good answer, but at least they've seen the light, that everything is not medical. And I always explain this in the talks because it's the correlation balance between you have medical, you have mental health, or nazar jinn jadoo. Hopefully it makes sense. The final thing on this topic is how do you save yourself from nazar, evil eye? If a person feels that I'm a jealous person, you know, brother's got a new top and I just can't take it, I want that top. Brother's got a new car and I want that car. Sister gets married, why did she get married so young? I wanted to marry that guy. So it's not just in women, it happens a lot in men. Generally we associate jealousy with women. It happens in religious circles as well. So the first thing is, remember the hadith said, إِنَّ الْحَسَدِ يَأْكُلُ الْحَسَنَاتِ كَمَا تَأْكُلُ النَّارُ الْحَطَبِ. Jealousy, eats your good deeds. It's you burning your good deeds. Every time you're jealous of that person, how? Just like fire burns wood. Yeah, bonfire night's coming, isn't it? You're going to watch those bonfires, whether it's permissible or not, ask Maulana Sahab. But basically, when the fire is burning, that wood and the cardboard, that's how your deeds are burning when you have jealousy in your heart. And jealousy is not a 5-minute sin, is it? Nobody has jealousy for 5 minutes. Probably 5 hours or 5 days, sometimes 5 years. So that's 5 years of Hajj, Roza, Zakat, boom, boom, it's all going. Ashes. So remember that next time you're jealous. Secondly, learn to say, MashaAllah, Barakallah. Now when I say this, the sincere, self-righteous people say, Lekin Maulana, mera dil mein ikhlas nahi, I don't really like him. It doesn't matter. You got to start somewhere. Yeah? When I started praying Salah, when you started praying Salah, did you have 100% devotion and concentration? So Shaitan's going to tell you, it's no point, mate, you don't have any concentration anyway. There's no khushu, you might as well not pray and watch films. There's more concentration in the film. That's Shaitan. Yeah, so you say, MashaAllah, Barakallah. Yeah, nobody's 100% sincere all the time. Nobody is. We are not the prophets, and we are not Sahaba. So say, MashaAllah, Barakallah, you got a nice coat, brother, you got a nice handbag, sister, you got a nice house, etc., etc. Make dua for the person. So if it's like an enemy or somebody you don't really like, make dua for them. When you make a dua, again, it might not be sincere. Allah, you know, he got married, I wanted to get married, or you wanted to marry that woman, Allah give him pious children. Brother, he bought that house in Cheadle for £400,000, I wanted it. But Allah, you know what, bless him with pious children in the house. Allah grant him another house. But we do know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when you make dua for a brother behind his back, what happens? The angels say Ameen to your dua, and for you as well. For you as well. So inshallah you get the house in Cheadle as well. Say Ameen, at least say Ameen, you might get it. Another thing is spread salam. Small thing, but it's all masjids. I don't know if it's a problem here, but generally you go to the masjid, nobody says salam to the people we know, we don't know. Yeah? As-salamu ala man arafta wa man lam ta'rif. Salam is not just for your brother and sister, or you know, he's Pakistani, I'm Pakistani, he's Indian, I'm Indian. Sahaba didn't do that. The Sahaba were not all Arabs. Yeah? The Sahabas from Africa. There were Sahabas from Egypt. The Sahabas from different places. They weren't all Arabian and Makkah, Medina Muslims. When you come to the masjid, do salam, you will open your heart. Especially do salam to the people who you envy. Just a salam, you don't have to hug and kiss and do extra. So that's the end of the evil eye topic. The next topic is black magic, which is known as jadoo or sihr in Arabic. Now, when it comes to sihr, there are two types of sihr. Two types of black magic. Imaginative, takhyili, khayal mein, and hakiki. Jazakallah. So that's the questions. If anybody else does have questions, please send them in now. Simply because if there's a lot, then I will finish the talk early. There's quite a few here, and inshallah from the sister side as well. If any brothers have questions,